I heard an incredible story the other day about the refining of silver and how in Zechariah it talks about how the Lord will refine them as silver and test them as gold. Now, a lot of us have heard the parallels, the beautiful parallels between how God refines us or tests us like gold, and in the natural, how gold is actually tested and purified. And how when you heat gold up, if you haven't heard about this before, gold in its most purest form is actually clear, which is amazing because the Bible talks about the pure gold and the gold streets that are clear as glass. And that was written in the Bible, thousands of years ago. And now we know that as you purify gold, what it does is it brings the impurities up to the surface, which are other metals that are mixed in, and you can remove those impurities. Now with silver, I didn't know this, and I heard this story the other day, and it was absolutely beautiful. I didn't realize that in the Word and in Zechariah, the Lord says that He will refine His people as silver. And I heard this story and learned a little bit more and did a bit more research about how silver is actually refined. And I came to learn that when silver is refined, it is put into extremely, extremely high heats. Extremely high heat. And the worker that is doing this work must sit with this silver, cannot move. He must be in full control of what's going on with this silver, to keep an eye on the heat, to keep an eye on the pressure that this silver is under, so that it does its refining work. And the worker cannot take his eye off of it for a moment. He has to keep an eye on how high the heat is and how the whole process is going. Because apparently if the heat goes off just a little bit, it can ruin the silver completely. So he's sitting there doing his work, keeping his eyes on this project, keeping his hands steady. He's watching everything unfold. And then in this story, the woman asks the man, "How do you know when the silver is finished, when it's done and it's ready?" And he said that it's easy. Apparently, you know the moment it's done, when you can see your reflection in it. I think this story doesn't need much explanation. But let me break it down for you, because isn't it incredibly beautiful? The parallel that the Lord gives between His care for us and His refining, and how we work with silver in the natural, holding us like the silver, us like the gold, in the fire, sometimes extremely high heats, extremely high pressures that is needed to refine us. And when we go through this refining process, not only are the impurities burned out, but during this process, God, the worker, has to watch, keep an eye on us the whole time. He doesn't take His eye off of us. He watches us through this whole process, and He knows how high the heat needs to get. He knows when to stop the process when the heat's too high, and He knows when it's going to spoil us. And the moment that the process is done, He knows it's finished because He can see His own reflection in us. This is one of the most incredible stories I've ever heard, and it touched me deeply. And it was such a good reminder for me that He's got His eye on me. When I'm going through the trials of life, I don't just need to be confident and have my assurance in Him that He's going to bring me through and get me through it, but I can also know that He's got a purpose in it, and that ultimately it's for my good, because when I come out, I'm going to look more like Him. And that's all I want. And I pray that for you as well. God bless you guys.